A very pleasant and wonderful day to you, our viewers, and I welcome you again to this segment on newspaper review here in First Next News. I am Kings Ojalo, and I will be putting you through all our newspaper headlines within the country, Nigeria. Now sit back, relax, while I take you through all newspaper platforms and interesting headline stories. Now starting with the Blueprint newspaper. On the Blueprint, we have interesting highlighted stories and stories trending, which we start with. Coas left troops spirits as terrorists blow up bridge in Niger, kill 8, impose 150 million tax on indigenous. I'll take that again. Coas left troops spirits as terrorists blow up bridge in Niger, kill 8, impose 150 million tax. That is a very sad one there. Many fell dead as explosion rocks Kwara community. Police debunk report of drone 150 bandits in Sokoto River. Now still on the Blueprint newspaper, we have another story about el-rufai. ICPC arraigned el-rufai in Kaduna today for alleged fraud, abuse of office. Traders sack teachers hail try over job losses. Now on the top we have stories. Ex-AGF Nwabuoku jailed 72 years over 868 million naira fraud. That is a very interesting one there. Now we also have from the NFF. NFF Congress approved status amendment fixed September 26 for election in Lafia. Now if you want to get more of that story, go get your Blueprint newspaper. Now going straight to this day newspaper. On this day newspaper, we have highlighted stories such as Wike knocks Makinde, warn him not to start a fight he can't win. I'll take that again. Wike knocks Makinde, warns him not to start a fight he can't win. That is a very interesting story. Now we also have ICPC arraigns el-rufai today over multi-billion naira fraud allegations. Now on the top we have a major investment drive. EU reveals 290 million euro global gateway project for Nigeria. Now going straight to the Nigeria Tribune. On the Nigeria Tribune we have headlines and more headlines and more interesting stories. Bandit bomb bridge in Niger. That has been a trendy story so far on almost all newspaper platforms. Bandit bomb bridge in Niger State. 8 fell dead. 1 killed, murder injured in Kwara explosion. Military strike, Tunji's adults kill scores of bandits. You find that in page 2 and 4 of the Nigeria Tribune newspaper. Still on the Nigeria Tribune, on the top we have court sentence ex-AGOF Nwabuoku to 72 years imprisonment for 868 million naira fraud. You find that in page 25 of the Nigeria Tribune. Now still on the Nigeria Tribune, alleged fraud, ICPC to arraign el-rufai today. You find that in page 3. Still on Wike back PDP set for March 29 convention. You find that in page 15 of the Nigeria Tribune. Still on the Nigeria Tribune, few more stories before I go to the next. Tinubu strangling democracy, that is coming from article, condemns DSS sledge on Malami's resident. You find that in page 2 of that newspaper platform. Makinde approved 10,000 transport support for workers. You find that in page 21. Wow, that is our first wonderful and interesting story in Oyo State. Makinde approving 10,000 transport support for all workers and also civil servants. Now, going straight to the Guardian newspaper. On the Guardian newspaper, still interesting stories. TB gains at risk as funding gap. Stangman monitoration. Take that again. TB gains at risk at funding gap. Stagman monitoration persists. You find that in page 6 of that newspaper platform. Still on the Guardian newspaper, Nigeria loses 12.5 billion naira to digital fraud in 4 years. Interesting story there. You find that in page 15 of the Guardian newspaper. Now we also have 8 fell dead as terrorists bomb Niger bridge. Most news coming from Niger State has been an attack from terrorists in the last 3 months, I could recall. Now we also have in page 6, emerging alliance joined Kanu APC as Makinde Wike dispute deepens. Oil drops by 14% as petrol diesel price worsens citizens' plight. You find that in page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Now going to the Daily Sun. Or the Daily Sun, we have Obi Ehedioha Odunwa team up for ADC Southeast push. You find that in page 29 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Alleged stories: APC retains zoning formula. APC retains zoning formula. Yawada Mazari admits challenges. Insists convention will hold as planned. Uzodima Oberewe Okowa rally South for APC in Asaba. You find that in page 6 of that newspaper platform. Nigeria begins HIV prevention injection rollout. Nigeria begins HIV prevention injection rollout. You find that story in page 6 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Now at the bottom of the Daily Sun, we have interesting stories. IPI urged Tinubu to rein in Niger government over media attack. IPI urged Tinubu to rein in Niger government over media attack. We find that in page 27. Now, still on the XAGOF, 868 million naira fraud. Nwabuoku gets 72 years imprisonment. Now we hope that sentence work. Niger Delta Chamber target $5 billion investment, 500,000 jobs. You find that in page 2. Now, Tinubu economy reform most significant in decades. That is coming from Mba. You find that in page 25 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Going straight to the Daily Monitor. On the Daily Monitor, we have highlighted stories such as "You are starting a fight you can't win. Wike warns Makinde. Caution PDP members ahead of party national convention to demonstrate loyalty or risk bill sidelined." Coming from the FCT minister in Wike. Now on the bottom we have Tinubu will be re-elected in spite stiff opposition. That is coming from Uzodinma, yes, the Abia South senatorial representative. Now we also have on the top, IGP wants newly promoted AIGs, CPs against discipline dereliction of duty. I'll take that again. IGP wants newly promoted AIGs, CPs against disciplines dereliction of duties. Now we also have court jail ex AGOF Nwabuoku 72 years for 868 million naira fraud. You find that in page 4. Dangote warns of global oil shock. Loud Tinubu UK visit gains. You find that in page 2. Now we also have EU announced 288 million euro grant to Nigeria healthcare sector orders. You find that in page 4. We also have alleged graft. ICPC to arraign el-rufai in Kaduna today. You find that in page 4. Moving straight to the Matrix newspaper. On the Matrix, we have Tinubu in strangling democracy. Nigeria sliding into authoritarian rule. Article 1. Tinubu is strangling democracy. Nigeria sliding into authoritarian rule. Article 1 says what Tinubu is engineering is nothing short of civilian coup. We find that in page 3. Highlighted stories such as "I pray for your healing. Tinubu comfort Uzoro assault victim." Yes, we could recall the trending assault from some indigenous and students on female students on Uzoro community at Delta State. Now, on the top we have Dangote warns if Middle East crisis escalate further, Nigeria, Africa will pay heavy price. That is a very tragic story coming from the CEO of Dangote Refinery. Now, still on that, on the Matrix newspaper, petrol import bill drops to $10 billion as local refinery gains ground. You find that in page 13 of that newspaper platform. Now, going to sports, Arsenal players pull out of international duty after cup final loss. Take that again. Arsenal players pull out of international duty after cup final loss. You find that in page 25 for those lovers of sport. You find that in page 25 of the Matrix newspaper. Now, still on fraud. 868.4 million naira fraud, court J former acting accountant general Nwabuoku 72 years imprisonment. ICPC to arraign el-rufai today over alleged fraud, money laundering. You find that in page 3 of that newspaper platform. Now going ahead in the next newspaper platform, which is the Voice of Liberty. On the Voice of Liberty, we have interesting stories. ADC demands full disclosure on £746 million UK port deal. Now, latest stories such as ICPC to arraign el-rufai over fraud, money laundering in Kaduna today. Now, still on that, Niger terrorists blow up bridge, kill 8 in fresh IED attacks. We also have 2027, Tinubu wants to relocate Nigeria capital to Lagos after election. That is coming from Timmy Frank, and which I don't think will be possible. But Timmy Frank is suggesting that Tinubu wants to relocate the capital back to Lagos. We all know how hectic is Lagos, and that won't be possible. On the contrary, now going still on that newspaper, petrol pump price hit 1,380 naira per liter. Petrol pump price hit 1,380 naira per liter. A very strong one for Nigerians. Now, if you want to get more of that news, go get your Liberty, your Voice of Liberty newspaper. Now, Labour demands energy sector reforms. Wants power, petrol ministry mashed. Now, going straight to the Punch newspaper. On the Punch, we have Hamzat Yayi Ali may emerge APC consensus government candidate. You find that in page 2 of that newspaper platform. Now, we also have on the top, NLC OPS demands action as petrol hits 1,400 naira per liter. Labour seeks temporary subsidy. OPS warns of job losses. Yes, you could see that in many cases in our industry, factories, and also private sectors where jobs are being lost. Now we also have that. You find that in page 17. Now going to page 9 of the Punch, you will see stories such as EFCC marks Malami Abuja property for venture. Take that again. EFCC marks Malami Abuja property for venture. Now we also have on the bottom line, ICPC arraign el-rufai Kaduna today. You find that in page 7. In page 8 of the Punch, police arraign Burawa, dismisses shooting claim as NURTW headquarters. Now we also have Middle East war may face Nigeria to work from home. Coming from Dangote. That is very strange, and a strange statement coming from the Dangote refinery CEO, Dangote, Aliko Dangote himself. Now going straight to the next newspaper platform. Highlighted stories again. Atiku demands release of el-rufai, kicks against detained political opponents. You find that in page 2 of that newspaper platform. Shatima declared Fitiri APC leader in Adamawa State. You find that in page 3. Osun lawmaker withdraw resignation from Accord Party, declared support for Adeleke. You find that in page 13 of that newspaper platform. IGP decorates newly promoted officers. You find that in page 2. Extended global energy disruption poses system risks. Total Energy CEO warns. You find that in page 3 of that newspaper platform. Now, our last newspaper for today, which is the Daily Trust. On the Daily Trust, we have interesting stories as well. EFCC seals Malami house. ICPC arraign el-rufai today. EFCC seals Malami house. ICPC arraigns el-rufai today. Wow. Now we also have on the bottom, PDP risks losing out of 2027. So Lamido says. You find that in page 3 and 5 of that newspaper platform. Now we also have on the top, ex-acting accountant general jailed 8 years for fraud. World TB Day. Sufferers battle. Stigma drugs burden. Now we also have on the APC side, APC Tinubu supports grounds, urge national leadership to uphold Bauchi State Congress results. Now you find that in page 7 of that story. Now the bottom of the Daily Trust newspaper, we have IED kills driver in Kwara. Terrorist bomb breach in Nigeria. We could see some circulated and terrible stories happening in the same day in Nigeria. God help us. You find that in page 23. Kwankwaso in talks with ADC, NDC over realignments. You find that in page 10 of that newspaper platform. Oil price stumble after Trump drops plan to bomb Iran power plants. Trump's taking this too far on the Iran war. Find that in page 3. And that is all I have for you on this segment on our newspaper headlines. Go get your copy of each and every one of this paper to get more and more of this story on all newspaper platforms. Many thanks for being with me. I am King Ojalo. Till I come your way next time is a bye for now.